Pretty good rule of thumb is like, don't bring up things when you're in a rush to go somewhere.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a safe.
That eliminates like 60% of conflicts for us, I think.
You were kind of short with me earlier. Was that because of something that I did, or was that you were just in a bad mood? And like looking for clarity in times like that, I think can really be important for understanding where each other is at and not just assuming.
Naming the fact that I forgot to communicate.
I dropped the ball.
Yeah.
Because like it's like way less frustrating when someone just admits to me that they dropped the ball. Today we're going to talk about 5 things we do to communicate effectively with each other. These are things we've learned over the past 5 years of being married and 7 years of being together.
And you know what they say?
There's still a lot to learn.
They say communication is the key to healthy relationships.
They do say that.
But I feel like
you hear that a lot.
The reason I'm glad we're having this conversation though is that people say, like, what is the key to a healthy relationship? And people say communication. But oftentimes people don't get in the weeds and describe what is it about communication that makes it so important, or how do I communicate effectively? Yeah. So we're going to have a discussion about how we communicate in our relationship, or things we do to effectively communicate to each other. This one is very influenced by our driven personalities, our organized personalities, but it's sharing our calendars with one another. We
personally use Google Calendar.
This isn't a sponsored ad, but we do use Google Calendar.
So we use Google Calendar, and we share one another's calendar. So when I pull up my calendar on my phone, if someone ever sees it, they're like, whoa, you're busy. Yeah. But it's not because I'm that busy. Yeah. It's because we are all of our events are synced into one.
And we catch so many potential scheduling conflicts because of that. If I add something into my calendar, you see it, but then also if there's an event that I want you to be a part of, or it's like us hanging out with a couple, I'll make sure to add you in it to indicate that you're a part of it as well.
Yeah. Or like even if someone comes to you and is like, hey, I want to hang out with you and Mariah, when's a day that works? And you guys kind of land on a day, then you'll send me an invite to be like, oh, like, could this work?
And this is getting really nitty gritty, but sometimes we'll say potential blank. Yeah. So we'll indicate when it's not locked in so that we can talk about it later. Oftentimes I try not to like commit on the spot when I'm talking to a friend about a double date or whatever, so that we have time to talk about it together.
Yeah. It also helps me to know like where Daniel's at. His calendar's a lot more accurate than mine, but like, for example, if I'm like, oh, maybe I should make dinner, I wonder when he's going to be home, but then I see he has like a meeting till 7, then I know kind of like where you're at and when you're going to be home. So it helps with all that. The second thing is ask for clarity.
Yeah, I think this is important because I think that there's so many things that are going on when you're in a relationship with someone. You have your schedule, they have theirs, and you have yours collectively. And it's so important if there's like something in your calendar or something that you're doing tomorrow, for example. And I'm kind of asking like, okay, are you going to need the car for that? Okay, how long are you going to need the car for? And I think going that extra step of like asking for more details or more clarity really helps future misunderstandings or conflicts in scheduling.
Yeah, I think it could also apply to things like aside from scheduling or aside from logistics. So just like relational things like, hey, you were kind of short with me earlier. Was that because of something that I did, or was that you were just in a bad mood? And like looking for clarity in times like that, I think can really be important for understanding where each other is at and not just assuming, but asking for that clarity.
And I think asking for clarity too goes, I find it's really helpful when it comes to like interpreting tone. So if you've had a long day and you say, hold on for a second, I'm just finishing this thing up. Or if you say, oh, I can't talk right now. It's like, oh, has it been a busy day? That's a clarifying note. It's like a quick question where you can say, oh yeah, it's been busy, but I can chat in about 10 minutes. Yeah. And so, it expands beyond scheduling. It expands beyond, it's just making sure you guys aren't missing each other and asking for clarity. Hey, did I do anything wrong? Is there anything I could be doing better? All these things are really helpful as you grow as a couple.
Okay, what's the next one?
Don't text about the important things. So something that we do is we will bookmark things in our text thread to talk about later, or we'll mark the email as unread. Say, for example, a travel agent or a family member sends an email, we'll send to each other like, oh, let's remember to chat about this later.
Yeah.
I'll mark it as unread to remind myself to go back and talk to you about it later.
Yeah.
And I think that this is helpful because sometimes you try to get in the nitty-gritty email or nitty-gritty details in text or via email that can't quite pick up on the nuance and the complexity of the situation. So it's important to like bookmark those important conversations, name them as important, and set a time or set a period. Say for example, it's the weekend. Let's chat about this on the weekend, or let's chat about this weekend or this evening. And it's important to just name a time so that you return back to it.
Yeah, I think like this has become kind of popular. I've seen in social media couples have like weekly meetings with each other. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is like the perfect type of thing to like be pushed to a weekly meeting.
Yeah.
Like sometimes we'll just have so many details we need to sort out. It's not even like big things we need to talk about. It's just like, when are we going to decide on this date? When are we going to hang out with this friend? Blah, blah, blah. And sometimes we just keep a note of all those things so that we can come together and decide on it. So we don't have like a regularly scheduled couples weekly meeting.
Yeah.
It'd be sweet if we did.
It's kind
I
of
think
flexible.
we could use one. Yeah,
I think
kind
we have
of
about one
ongoing.
a day.
I guess we always do. But like that could be an idea for like how to push those text conversations to a weekly meeting. And again, doesn't always need to be like logistical stuff. It can be like big things you need to talk about too.
And I think that like even if it's not an official like 1 hour meeting, it's like a stand up, for example, where you're setting time aside to touch base for 15 minutes. So for example, yesterday you were getting ready and I pulled up a stool and had my dinner by the bathroom as you were getting ready, just because there's a few things that we had to communicate.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't have to be an official thing. It's just intentional time set aside where you can communicate details and make sure you're on the same page together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, the next thing is to communicate your wrongs. So I feel like automatically when there's like tension with your spouse or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, you kind of want to be like, well, you're doing this to frustrate me, and like point the finger. But we found it really helpful to like first reflect, okay, like, is there something I did wrong in this situation? So sometimes it could be like, oh, sorry, like I actually didn't communicate what time we actually needed to leave.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm frustrated with you right now.
Yeah.
Or I didn't communicate that I just really want to go to bed early tonight because I'm so tired and I've had a long week. And so, to be able to like communicate maybe where you're in the wrong before diving into the situation together.
Yeah, and I think this comes in handy to like not only when it comes to conflict, but also like when it comes to planning things together. You could say like, oh, I totally forgot.
Yeah.
But I told this family member or a friend that they could come over for a half an hour tonight.
Yeah.
Just to touch base about a few things.
Yeah.
I totally missed that, but is that okay?
Yeah.
And so like naming the fact that I forgot to communicate.
I dropped the ball.
Yeah.
Because like,
first.
I don't know, for me, it's like way less frustrating when someone just admits to me that they dropped the ball or that they just like made a mistake.
Yeah.
It's when they try to like hide the fact that they made a mistake that gets me more frustrated. I think maybe because when people are like, yes, I'm so sorry, I totally missed this. It's like relatable. It's like, I've done that a million times. No worries, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. I think admitting wrongs is so important. The last one is realizing when it isn't the best time to talk. So this could be the end of a long day. This could be late night. This could be early morning.
Yeah.
You have to discern between you and your significant other when is and when isn't the best time to talk about certain things.
Yeah, and that's like a learning process. It's something you don't know about the person right away, and something I feel like I'm still even learning about myself. Pretty good rule of thumb is like, don't bring up things when you're in a rush to go somewhere. I feel like that's a safe.
That eliminates like 60% of conflicts for us.
But like, for example, sometimes Daniel like will be in bed, lights are off. I'm just ready to go to sleep. And he'll be like bringing up these, oh, in 5 years, what if we did this? And I envision our life this way. Just these big, audacious life plans.
There's something about like the lights dimmed or off, end of the day, relaxed mind, that just gets the creative juices pumping. And so I apologize.
I'll just be like, Daniel, I love this idea, but I cannot talk about
Yeah.
anything that like needs my brain energy right now. I need to go to sleep.
And I think that something that's important for people to recognize is that it's not always temporal. It could be like, so it's not always like, oh, late night we never talk.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
early
I
morning
mean,
we never
yeah,
talk. It could be like, I am tired right now.
Yeah.
It's the middle of the day, but I didn't have a great sleep last night. Could I think about this and we talk later on this evening after I take a nap?
Yeah. Yeah. And
so
I think
just,
it's
like,
important
naming
for
that.
the other person to like bring understanding in those
Yeah.
moments,
Yeah.
not to be like, no, we like, because I feel like I used to be more like, if we had a big thing we needed to talk about, I'd be like anxious to like need to talk about it right now. And so I'd be like, no, we need to talk about it right now. Like, doesn't matter if you're tired, this is important. And it's like, well, it could be so important that you need to bring your best self to it.
Yeah.
And so that means pushing it to the next day, right?
Yeah. So those are our 5 tips for communicating effectively. These are the things that we do. I know there's probably a gold mine of different things that you do out there. Feel free to drop those below in the comments, because I'm sure other people would like to see your tips as well.
And if you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. And also, if you found this video helpful, please feel free to share it with a friend or family member or your spouse or boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever you think might need it. But with that,